Be'ez Hashem Yisbarach, we begin Perek Achad Asher, the 11th Perek in the Rambam Mishneh Torah Gerushin, the laws of divorce, in the Sefer Nashim, where the Rambam now continues onto a rabbinic element of halachas of Gerushin, that of miyun, which is regarding the rabbinic marriage of a minor. Also regarding the halacha of machzik rishasei, the prohibition of remarrying the woman that he divorced, and regarding hamtana, the requirement of waiting after getting divorced before remarrying someone else. So the Rambam begins halacha aleph regarding the idea of miyun. Says the Rambam, ein nois nesek. The halacha is that we don't get married to a minor because maybe when she's going to become an adult, she's not going to be okay with who she married as a minor. Now, but if someone marries a minor orphan, and which that is a halacha that the father has the ability to marry her off, but when she's an orphan, that's a different halacha. The leiratza babal, which that's a rabbinic marriage, and now she doesn't want the husband anymore. She could refuse. That's what miyun means. She could refuse and leave. Unlike the biblical marriage where she requires a get, this rabbinic marriage as an orphan, then when she got married as a minor, when she leaves, she does not require a get. Because the kedushin, the engagement of a minor, is not considered a bona fide biblical kedushin, like explained in Perek Dal of Hilchos Ishus, and therefore she could just leave, doesn't require a get. Also, same thing would apply if, let's say, you have a minor that her father married her off, which that is biblical marriage. But when when she was still a minor, she got widowed from that husband or divorced from him. She's like, quote unquote, an orphan when her father's still alive, because her father lost rights in her once she got married to someone else. So now she's like almost without a father, but she's still a minor. So this is Kishikitana, when she gets married, when she's still a minor, when the father's still alive, when she left her first husband's domain, she also has the halachic opportunity of doing mean because her engagement and marriage is going to be only rabbinic. Now, halacha bases the Rambam. However, hachareshes, a deaf mute woman, although on some level she's like the marriage of a minor, where her marriage is also only rabbinic because she doesn't have da'as, she's a deaf mute. But there the rabbis did not institute like they did for a minor the ability to refuse, because we don't want people to refrain from marrying her. In other words, because she can always do refusal because she's always in this rabbinic marriage of being chereshes. In contrast, a minor, there's a limit where she only does it until she becomes an adult, as we'll see later on. So therefore the husband says, okay, I can appease her until she becomes an adult, and then she can only leave with the husband's agreement to do the get. So therefore, by the chareshes, they didn't institute this halacha of miyun. Now the Rambam gets halacha gimel mama'enes, hi hakatana. So this refusal is a minor. Beim in the erison, beim assume whether she's refusing the engagement that she had or the marriage that she had. Beim b'fnei ba'ala, beim shalebef, whether in front of the husband or not in front of him. And says the Rambam, just like she could do this refusal on her husband, so too she could do this refusal on the yavam, which if let's say her husband died without any children and she didn't do refusal on him, and now she has yibum to his brother, she could do refusal on him and she doesn't even require that of chalitza. She could just do min in this husband. She could do refusal to a second husband if, let's say, she got married to a second one. She'll do the third husband, even many times. Because as long as she's still a minor and she wants to leave the marriage, and her marriage therefore is only rabbinic, she could do this refusal. Now, a minor who did not do this refusal, although she's married, but she goes and she gets engaged to another man. She's this rabbinic marriage to this first husband. She goes and she gets engaged to someone else when she's still a minor. Her kedushin to the second man is actions speak louder than words. Is obviously her refusal from the first husband, and therefore she's now by the second husband, not by the first husband. Now, in halacha daled, admase abbas mem'ena, says the Rambam, until when could this daughter, this girl, this young girl, do this refusal? So, kosman shekitana, as long as she's a minor, achati nara, until she's a nara, which is a girl when she's 12 years old, and she brings 2 pubic hairs, then she becomes an adult, and then she can't do refusal anymore. Or until we verify that she's an islandess, meaning that she reaches age 20 and she didn't bring 2 pubic hairs, but she shows the signs of an islandess, that's the limit, again, either, so to speak, bas mitzvah, or for an islandess at age 20 when she brings signs that she's an islandess. Now, but when we say this, that if she doesn't bring the simanim of an iris, she could do refusal, even though she's already over 12 years old, that's only b'shalei ba'aleh habal, that's only if the husband did not cohabit with her, after that she had already became 12 years old. So therefore, if he didn't do bia, and although she's bas mitzvah already, she's already 12 years old, that's the eat that we presume, but she didn't bring siman in aris, didn't bring 2 pubic hairs yet, so then her kedushin is not biblical, it's only rabbinic, because her kedushin originally was when she was a minor, and therefore if we check her and she doesn't bring 2 pubic hairs yet, so we still treat her as a minor, and she could do refusal, even if she had already brought the 2 pubic hairs, and they fell out, which we have to suspect now that she's already an adult, but the kedushin, they didn't do another kedushin. He didn't have bia with her since she became bas mitzvah. It was only when she was still a minor, which was rabbinic. So out of that doubt, we're not stringent to presume her to be an adult. Now, avol emegil as manazem. So, however, if she reached this age, she's over bas mitzvah. So he said, if she's a nara, if she already produced pubic hairs, she can't do mean anymore. So it's not just being 12. It's just being 12 and you don't have hairs, we're not so stringent. But if, let's say she reached this age and she didn't bring 2 pubic hairs, but the husband cohabited with her. Since that kiddushin with an adult, which she possibly might be, that bia is biblical, like we explained in Perek Daf Mechasishes, then she cannot do this refusal anymore because now the kiddushin is going to be biblical in this possibility at least. In the first case, we don't know. So it's a question regarding a suffix d'Rabbanan of me, and so we're not going to be stringent. Here it's a suffix d'Oraisa. Is this bia with an adult girl? We don't know if she had the hairs and they fell out. Oh, so therefore we have to be stringent. She's not do mean anymore. Moreover, she doesn't have to be checked if she does a refusal. Because we're presuming that she brought 2 pubic hairs already. Why? Because we're already presuming that her kedushin was biblical, and therefore by biblical halacha, which is what would be if the bia was with that she's already an adult. So already say she already brought this amount, she cannot do refusal anymore because she's already as an adult. Halacha hey. Says Ram Harishan Niptical. Let's say they checked her, and they did not find any signs of her being an adult. So but once that they already had bia at a time when it's fit for her to already have the signs, then we have to be concerned for her. Maybe that she already brought the pubic hairs and they fell out. Therefore, it might have been a biblical kedushin with the bia, and therefore she might be biblically married. We don't know, so therefore that requires, at least out of doubt, a get. Now, let's say she did this refusal after we checked her and we didn't find simanim. And again, situation of doubt. She gets engaged to someone else, get misafik. So it requires a get out of doubt, because maybe when she had bia to the first husband, maybe she didn't bring simanim yet. So come that she's not really biblically married to her first husband. So the kedushin to the second man is possibly going to be valid, because maybe the second person, we have to be stringent and say that maybe, although we even check her afterwards, we don't find hairs, maybe when she married the second guy, maybe there was hairs and they fell out right then. And therefore to him, she's engaged, maybe biblically. So out of doubt, you require a get. And let's say she doesn't just get engaged to the second guy, she actually marries him. Then she has to leave both, meaning she had bia with the second man. She has to leave now both husbands, because we don't know, it might be married to the first one, and then it's Eishes Ish, it's Nus, which the halacha just leave both. And Vaval, it's fake mam's mishneh. And the child is a doubtful, illegitimate child from both of them. I mean, the second one we know definitely might be, because she might really be married to the first one. But also if the first one takes her back after she had been married to the second guy and not divorced from him, and now she gives birth from the first one, well, she might really be married to the second one. So therefore the child is a suffix mamzer from either the first husband or the second husband. Halacha vav. Ketana shlei me'ena, a minor that did not do this refusal. V'igdila, and she became an adult, meaning she turned 12 years old and she brought 2 pubic hairs, she's an adult. Now, even if they didn't have cohabitation after that she was already 12 years old, so although she didn't yet have biblical kedushin, we said in the previous halacha that even if she doesn't have 2 pubic hairs, but maybe she did, we don't know. So when you have a bia, so that's a suffix, maybe she's an adult, and that's going to be a kedushin minat Torah. Here we're talking about differently, that no, they didn't have bia, but she's already 12 years old and she has 2 pubic hairs, so we know she's an adult. So for that itself, she cannot do mean anymore, deal because she became an adult. The halach of mean was only said for when she's still a minor. Now, however, but again, the get that we require from him is only rabbinic. Why? Because Ram explained, he didn't have cohabitation with her after she already reached the age of being a nara, that we have to be concerned for it, Shema Hevi Simon, that maybe she brought pubic hairs, and that maybe she's engaged. And neither did he have cohabitation with her after that she became an adult, that she brought 2 pubic hairs, that she should be a bona fide married woman. So when it comes out to get that really she only needs a get from the fact that she was her rabbinic marriage when she was a minor. Which that's only rabbinic. So meaning she can't refuse anymore because she's an adult. So mean doesn't work anymore. But if he wants to divorce her, well, we don't know this to be here biblical marriage. So therefore, it would require a get, as anytime he wants to remove her. But again, only a rabbinic get from the halacha of the kedusha ketana. Therefore, like if she gets up and she gets engaged to someone else after she became an adult, so although she can't do mean anymore, but the kedusha of the second year will take effect because the marriage she has with the first husband, which she can't leave anymore, is only rabbinic. But when the second one, she's already an adult, she does kedushin, that's biblical. So that's going to take effect. The Imgerish Rishon, now, and if the first guy decides to divorce her, then the second guy that she had done kedushin with already, if she wants to, he could go ahead and marry her. But if the second guy divorces her, then the first one should not stay married with her. Why? Shema Yemer, it's a concern that people might say, that the first husband took back the woman that he quote unquote divorced after that she was engaged. Meaning, people are going to say, the first guy divorced her, and then the second guy got engaged to her. Now, you now take back the woman that you divorced after that she was engaged. So therefore, here, although he didn't divorce her, the second guy divorced her, but it looks like as if, like, oh, she was with him, then she went there, and then she came back, and we know that guy engaged her, so it might look like and therefore, in this situation, the first guy should not take her back. Now, let's say the second man has cohabitation with her before the first one divorces her. We said once he does, even though he got engaged first, he can subsequently get married to her. But let's say he even had cohabitation with her before the first guy divorced her. Well, then Tatum is she has to leave both. Because this is similar to a woman. She heard her husband died, and she got married to someone else, and her husband comes back, and whoa, she was still married to the first one. This is very similar in the sense of that she's still married to the first one. We don't know exactly, and if the second one's going to be with her, it's like, and then the first husband's still around. Therefore, and this even by rabbinic marriages, that we have this halacha of the woman that their husband went away, and turns out she's still alive. Here also the rabbinic marriage to the first husband is still alive, and therefore if she had cohabitation, so that's like being forbidden to both husbands, as the classic halacha of a woman who thought her husband was dead and got married to someone else. But the child from the second husband, if they have a child from that union, is not an illegitimate child, because biblically she actually is engaged to the second one and permitted him. It's only because of this rabbinic marriage that we're going to say that she's forbidden to both. Now, but let's say the first husband cohabits with her before the second husband divorced her. Well, that havlad mamzer, that the child is biblically illegitimate, because biblically she actually is married to the second husband. The first one was only rabbinically, and therefore, if he cohabits with her without the second guy divorcing her, then actually that child's going to be a mamzer. Now, Allah Chazan, Rambam continues regarding the age of doing miyun. What is the age of a minor that she even has to do this refusal? So Rambam explains. From 6 till 10, we inspect her according to how smart she is. If she knows how to protect the kedushin, let's say the money that she got for kedushin, and v'shem kedushin, she understands that what that money was, that means she's married to this guy. Now, and it doesn't mean just to watch it over, like she knows how to watch her nuts or her dates or stuff like that. We mean she really knows how to protect it, like a mature girl. So then she's old enough to require the halacha refusal. Now, if she doesn't know even how to protect her kedushin, then she doesn't even need refusal. She can just go to her mother's house, as if she was never engaged. Now, so that depends. We check her to see how smart she is. If she's under 6 years old, maybe she's a smart girl. She knows how to protect her kedushin, and it means she doesn't require mian. Now, if she's over 10 years old, even very foolish, she requires the refusal. So that depends. Under 6, never have to. 6 to 10, we check out. Over 10, always has to. Now, now, which is the classic rabbinic kedushin of a minor. If her brothers or her mothers or her relatives marry her off, but shaloila daita without her awareness, then she doesn't even have to do min, and she could just leave and go back home. Halacha ches. So the Rambam says, how do we do this miyun? What's the text of this divorce of the miyun? Says Rambam, kitzim amanis. How does she do this refusal? So she says in front of two witnesses, I don't want that man, my husband, or I don't want this kedushin that my mother did for me, my brother did for me, or anything like that, is the idea of miyan. And the Ram, as from the Gemara, spells it out in this dramatic way. Even if there's guests that are around the house, in her husband's house, and she's serving as a hostess and standing over them and giving them to drink, and she says, any rates complaining about it, I don't want my husband this man. How is a man? That's enough. That's considered refusal, and she's done, and she can leave. Now, halacha tes says the Ram, so the two people that the girl does the refusal in front of them, they write for her, on that day, that this girl did this, that's the son of this man, did a refusal in front of us, in regards to her husband, that man. And they sign and they give it to her, and that's the text of this get of refusal. As the Rambam explains, this document of the refusal is not like the document of divorce. Because by a regular get, the handing it over is the divorce. As long as not given over, she's not divorced. In contrast, get miyan doesn't have to be given over. The moment she does the refusal, it uproots the kedushin. The whole point of the get is only that she has a proof that she did the miyan. And in the Torah so it doesn't have to be written for her namesake. It doesn't have to be handed over. It doesn't have to have any of the halachas of the document of divorce, which is that of an adult, of a biblical marriage. And in case of a tough get, we don't write the standard text of a get. Shemi Yirot could get gerushin. To the contrary, it might look like then a get of divorce. And the problem with that is that people might think, okay, now the relatives are forbidden like a regular gerushin. It's not true because it's not regular get. Like the Rambam says, only like a court receipt, like a court document about the proceedings, and that's all that the get miyan is. Halacha Yud. So the two people that she does refuse in front of them. So they have to at least recognize her and the husband that she's doing refusal on, because they have to be able to verify that it's actually that girl and not someone else. Therefore, that since the witnesses have to have verified who the girl is and who the husband is, so whoever witnessed a miyun where she was doing this in front of two witnesses, and they heard her refusal in front of these two witnesses, so even a third party, someone else that was bystander, he could write the get of refusal for her, although he doesn't recognize that who she is, but he knows that the witnesses would never do it unless they know who she is, like we just said before. And says Rambam, Kvar Nagu Yisrael Lichtav Get Miyan B'Nosach Zeh. And there's already a custom to write this document of refusal in the following terminology. Get Miyan. This is the document of refusal, which Rambam says in Halacha Yiralf, says like this. B'kach b'Shabbos, in this day of the week, kach b'kach yom l'chodesh pleni, this and this day of that month, shnas kach b'kach l'minyan pleni, this and this year of that counting of which, whether it be from creation of the world or from that of the documentations. So this girl, the son of this man, she refused in front of us, and she said the following thing: that my mother or my brother hituni, they misled me, or they married me off, they got me engaged, and I'm a minor, to this man, the son of that man. Now, now I'm revealing my intention in front of you. I don't desire him. I'm not staying with him. And we checked out this girl, and it was verified to us that she's still a minor, which that's a requirement, a prerequisite for doing the miyun. And we wrote and we signed, and we give her this document l'schus for a merit, l'rai brura, and for a clear proof that this was the miyun was done. Plain by plain 8, this person, the son of this person, is a witness. Plain by plain 8, this person, the son of this person, as a witness. And that is the get of the miyun. Now, Ram Halacha Yud Beis now continues in related halacha regarding continuing after divorce, which we spoke about now regarding a rabbinic type of a divorce of miyun. Now this of the prohibition of being machzik rishasa, of taking back the woman that he divorces. So the Ram Hamagorshes Ishtay. Someone divorces his wife, and she gets engaged to someone else, even if she didn't have cohabitation with that second husband. Nesa al Rishon, she's already forbidden to the first husband. And the first husband takes her back and cohabits with her. Like he gets lashes of a covenant lahitzi, and we force him to remove her. Shouldn't says in the pasuk in the Varm Chavdal la yuchel bala harishon begaima, that the first husband cannot go ahead and take her back. Now, what did it say? It said after he's going to divorce her, it says v'yatzim beisa, she's going to leave his house. V'holcha v'hoisa lish acher, she's going to go v'hoisa to another man. V'hoisa is terminology of havai, which means kedushin. That even if she's only engaged to the second person, she already becomes forbidden to the first husband. Now, halacha yud gimel. However, zinsa im acher k'shigusha. Let's say she was only mezana, which means that she had relations outside of marriage when she was divorced. Then the husband actually allowed to take her back and remarry her. Because remember, the pasuk says, as we quoted before, which is 2 psukim beforehand, v'yatzami beisai. So she leaves his house, talking about there in the context of divorcing a wife. V'holcha, and she goes and she goes and marries another person. That's what the pasuk said, as we said in the previous halacha, he cannot remarry her. But that's only haviyas l'shacher. That's only if, like we said, v'haisa, her engagement to another man, she had kedushin, he shayseres eis al bal lachzala. That's what makes it forbidden for her husband to take her back. But if she was only mezana, even though she had cohabitation, that's not going to be forbidden to remarry her. Now, halacha yadalad. Ubechlal lav zeh. Now, included in this prohibition of this pasuk, as we're going to shortly explain, although it's a totally different halacha, included in this negative prohibition is shekol isha shezin zetachas baila. Any woman that's mezana, that she has extramarital relations when she's still married with her husband, nesrulav, that makes her forbidden on her husband. But likely, and he gets lashes on her. Because the pasuk says later on, achari ashuhu tama, after that, they're in pasuk dal, which I mentioned in 2 halachas ago, that after that she became defiled. Now, v'harei nitma, this woman became defiled. Because obviously this pasuk has to be talking about something different than what the simple translation of the pasuk is. It must be talking about, like the Rambam saying, a woman that's mezana when she's still married to her husband. Because if we'd be talking about, as the simple understanding of the pasuk is talking about, of halacha of machzik rishasai, of remarrying a woman that he divorced, then even if she just got engaged, as we said, to a second man, even if she was not quote unquote hutama, having had relations with another man, even without that, she's forbidden to him, and that he gets lashes, as we said before. So obviously that it's including another negative prohibition about a different halacha, about a woman that becomes tamei, means she had relations with another man when she's still married with her husband. That's when he gets lashes if he cohabits with her, even if he didn't divorce her at all. Elam Kain, the exception only is if hoise ishti sisol shenensa. So generally, if a woman has relations with another man when she's married, she becomes forbidden to him, unless if she was a wife of a non-Kayin who was raped, which she was forced. Oh, okay. But lafikach, therefore, since if she did it willingly, and she's quote unquote nitma, and then she's forbidden to him biblically, so then kol isha shenesa balas, and then any woman that becomes forbidden to her husband, aidekinu istira, where he warns her and then she secludes with another man, where then we're not sure if she had relations with another man. In balais, if the husband then subsequently has relations with her, makanus and makas martis, we give him rabbinic lashes because of this doubt here regarding. We don't know definitively if she became tamei, but there is a doubt. So therefore, he gets lashes. But if he goes and he takes her back after he divorced her, so then yetzi beget, then he has to divorce her with a get. So included in the halacha of machzik rishasai is also the halacha of a woman that's mezana tachas baila, which is alluded to in the pasuk that v'hi nitma, which is coming to tell us the halacha of a woman specifically is forbidden to her husband because of the fact that she had relations. And again, if it's not definitive, but at least there's a suffix, then we give him, which is the halacha that she becomes forbidden because of kinyan stira, then we give him these rabbinic lashes. Halacha Tezvav, the Ram continues, Cherish Gerish Birmiza. If a deaf mute divorces, he could divorce with allusions, with just using body language. Like we had explained this in Parak Beis, which if he got married as a cherish, he could divorce as a cherish, which he can't speak, but he could use some type of symbolism. And now this woman goes and gets married to another deaf mute. And we don't have to say that if she got married to a totally sane person, where then the kedushin is biblical. But either way, when she marries someone else, which there's a continuation of what we're talking about here regarding machzik rishasai, asur lavs labal acher, she now go back to her first husband, that's the deaf mute, because his marriage was this rabbinic, so either another rabbinic marriage or for sure a biblical marriage can make it forbidden. Aval, but what's different is ishta shel bekeach in this gerushin. Let's say a woman of a totally with all those faculties intact man that divorced her. This is lecherish in this gerushin. And then she got married in the interim to a deaf mute and got divorced from him. She actually is allowed to go back to her first husband, the one that had all his faculties intact, because the kedushin of a cherish cannot revoke and create problems for the kedushin of the first husband that was biblical, because biblically the kedushin of a cherish is nothing, and the Chum did not institute it to make it a problem for the kedushin of the first person. Therefore, he could take back such a wife. Halakha design. So if a woman does a refusal, going back to the halacha of miyun, if a girl does miyun on a man, she's not quote unquote divorced from him, which generally when you're divorced, you're still forbidden to all the relatives of the ex-spouse. But refusal doesn't do that. And Medina and Bala Sheminaba, actually interestingly, the halacha with the husband, that she was like a regular wife to, but that she did refusal on, Kedina in Mishli Kitchen has the halachic status like a man that she never did Kedushin at all, because the way miyun works is that it actually retroactively revokes that there was never a Kedushin. So he materes b'krevav, she's permitted in his relatives, v'humat b'krevav say he's permitted in her relatives. V'leb salmin the kuna, he has not invalidated from kuna, which is the case as a gerusha. Now, the nisr la'achar, if she marries someone else, the gersha achar, and the other person divorces her, a mace, or he dies, or man the boy, she does refusal on him, materes la'achzarishin, she's permitted to go back to the first husband. Not considered machzik gerusha because she was quote unquote never married to him. But not only that, a bigger chiddush is elafila gersha rishon, even if the first husband did divorce her, he gave it again. There's two ways. Usually a marriage only works that when he divorces her. By a minor, it could work two ways. He could divorce her with a get, or she could remove herself by doing miyun. So even Eila for Gerushin, even if the first husband does Gerushin, but then he remarries her. And then she does refusal on him, she gets married to someone else after she did refusal on him. Now the other person divorces her, she's permitted to go back to the first husband. Because the miyun, the subsequent miyun, it undoes his original get. So although he had divorced her, and it would be a problem, the fact that she did a miyun actually undoes it as if she was never married to him. And that shows us that she's really a minor. So therefore, he could actually remarry her in that situation. As Rambam explains, because whoever leaves through refusal, even if she had already been prefaced with the first time she was married to him with a get, that's like as if she was never divorced from him with a get at all. When she's permitted to go back to him. Now, but if let's say someone divorces a minor with a get, then this is la'achar me'anabay, and then she gets married to someone else and she does refusal on him, asur la'achzarishin, here she's permitted to go back to the first husband. Why? Because she left him on a get, and therefore it'll be machzik rishase. Now, even though she left the second guy with refusal, but the refusal of the second guy does not nullify the first one's get, because we're concerned that, as the Gemara tells us, that maybe because she recognizes his hints, his winks, and what he's going to do is he's going to go when she's married to the second husband and seduce her to come back to him. Now, the reason why we'd be concerned for this is because she still loves him. She didn't do refusal on the first husband. He divorced her, and he removed her without her consent. Now, but when she does miyun on him, that is mevatel his get. And that what? We're not concerned that maybe he's going to seduce her when she goes married to someone else to come back to him, because she's not going to be appeased by him, because she left him, she did miyun on him. So therefore, we're not concerned when she does miyun on him, but we are concerned when he divorced her and the second husband did miyun. We don't have to say im gershach in the mes for sure if the second husband divorced her or that he died, where she didn't do miyun on him. So there's no miyun to uproot any earlier kedushin. So for sure, then it's like she was married to the first guy and the second guy, and for sure would be a problem about machzik gerusha. And v'chein asur lavi harishin, so too she'd be forbidden to the father of the first husband, Labanai, and to his son, Ulachav, and to his brothers. Kashar gerusha is like all women who are divorced. Although she leaves the second guy with miyun, but like we said, because the miyun of the second guy cannot remove the get of the first guy. And even his relatives, who we shouldn't have this concern about trying to seduce, is still going to be forbidden because we're concerned for the husband doing that to take her back, which again is a concern when he divorced her and not when, and unlike the case of when she did miyun on him. And that one contains halacha yitzayin, ha'me'enes b'yava. So let's say she was a minor, her husband died without any children, and now she has the Yibum. She doesn't want to have Yibum Chalitza, so she does Miyun on him, which she could uproot as if she was never even married to his brother. Still Asur La'aviv. Still she's forbidden to his father. At least it looks like she is his daughter-in-law, which is biblically prohibited, a daughter-in-law. When did she look like she's his daughter-in-law? When his son, the first son, died. Because since it was effective, the marriage of the first husband who died, to make her fall for Yibum, to require Miyun from her brother-in-law so that she can marry someone else. So because of Marasayan, it looks like as if she is his daughter-in-law, and therefore she's forbidden to their father. But for other relatives, it's permitted according to the Rambam. The figure therefore Yavaman. So therefore, if she does mean in one of the Yavaman, Muteslach, if she permitted to the brothers, which generally that's not the case when you do Chalitza, but here she is permitted to everyone else, just not to the father. Now, the Rambam continues in the related halacha regarding, again, post-divorce, which is where a lot of this parak is talking about, regarding waiting 90 days before getting remarried. Says the Rambam, any woman that was divorced or widowed, she shouldn't get married or even get engaged until she waits 90 days. And that's chutz miyam shenis garsha. That's besides the day she get divorced, or the day that her husband died, which is the first day. And that's besides the day when she's getting engaged. So besides those 2 days, the bookends, she has to have 90 days in between. And what's the reason for this? Because she avada, so that it should be known, imhimu beres or beres, if she's pregnant from her first husband or not. Which that's how long it takes to recognize the pregnancy. Generally, is the first trimester is 3 months. And why do we have to know if she's pregnant or not? Lahavkin means to differentiate between, is this the seed of the first husband or the second husband? Because we don't want her to give birth to a son, and now we're not sure, is it 9 months from the first husband, is it 7 months from the second husband? Because the Torah tells us that which means say HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted we should differentiate exactly the yichus, who it is, because the Shekhinah only rests on those that have definite yichus. Halacha test. And from the day that the get is written, that's when we start counting for a woman that was divorced to count these 90 days. And even if the get was only on condition, and even the condition wasn't fulfilled yet, or let's say it didn't reach her hand until after many years, but we start the count from the day that it was written. Why? As we had said in the previous halacha, that he's not allowed to seclude himself with her once he wrote it for her, so we're not concerned that they had relations to worry about the paternity of the child. Halacha chaf. Now, it's a rabbinic decree. Even a woman that's not even fit to give birth. And even if she was divorced or widowed from just being engaged. Still, we make a blanket halacha, all women have to wait 90 days. Even a minor who can't have a child. Or an elderly woman, or a barren woman, or illness or illness. Even if the husband was overseas. He's sick, or he's locked him in jail. Even if she's a virgin from just being engaged, you always have to wait 90 days as a gezerah for the cases when she is fit to have a child, so that we shouldn't differentiate between women and confuse it. Halach Chafal. A maidservant that got freed, a non-Jewish maidservant, who got freed and becomes a Jewish woman. The Gerushin is Ger, or a non-Jewish woman who converted. And this maidservant and this Geyeris were married to their husbands when they were slave or non-Jewish. Because if they were single, then they wouldn't have to wait anything, because even if they're mezana, as we'll see in the next halacha, they don't have to wait. But we're talking about they were married, but then they became Jewish. Mamtin Tisham Yom, then they have to wait 90 days. And even if the ger and his wife together convert, they have to separate for a period of 90 days. To differentiate between the seed that was sown in holiness, meaning when they were Jewish, regarding the child that they have, to know if it was when they were not Jewish yet. And so too, the beautiful maiden, which the halacha of a woman that was taken in captivity from a non-Jewish enemy, when the Torah talks about in Parashat Kiseitze, although the Torah says explicitly about a halacha of her waiting 30 days for her to fix herself, to cry over her father and her mother until she accepts to come and become a Jewish woman, still, notwithstanding that there's those 30 days, she has to wait 90 days simply because to know who this child she's giving birth is from. And the 30 days of the crying is Machlal Tishim, is included in those 90 days. Because although the Jewish soldier, actually cohabited with her on the war field, still we don't have to be worried about that, because that child is anyways not going to be the Jewish child, because it's going to be when she was not Jewish, was not considered his child. So we don't have to differentiate regarding that. But anything post that, we have to know if it's going to be his child or not. Then we have to wait 90 days. Halacha beis. A woman that does refusal, which we said when she's a minor, she doesn't have to wait for this period of 90 days because she's a minor. She's not fit to have a child. So we're not geyser, to not confuse her when she's an adult, because an adult is never going to do miyun. So anyone's doing miyun, we know that what it is, and therefore she doesn't have to wait the 90 days. Because like Gazra el Bagusha, they only made, says the Rambam, we only made a decree, meaning, although we said before, by a minor you have to wait, that's only if he divorces her. So, okay, that could be confusing, minor, adult, but miyun, only a minor does, and therefore she never has to wait when she does the miyun herself. So too, if a girl was mazana, had promiscuous relations with another man, she doesn't have to wait 90 days before she gets married. Why? Because she protects herself that she should not become pregnant, which she has a way of inverting the genital area that the seed, the sperm should not impregnate her. And so to a woman who is raped, although she's not ready for that, it was sudden, but she can still protect herself not to become pregnant, like the Gemara says in Ksubit of Lam Zayin and Aleph. And the Mafuto, if she was seduced, in the Tzuk Lamdan, those women don't have to wait because we're not suspecting that they're pregnant. Halacha of Gimel. Now, Mishnah, this is betaz. If someone got married in error, meaning she finds out that she's actually forbidden to her husband, for example, let's say two people engage two women, and at the chuppah, the girls got mixed up with the chasanim, now the court's taking her away from that man. If she's a minor, that she's not fit to have a child anyway, then even though we said she's not doing miyun, but still in that case she doesn't have to wait. Why? Because this marriage in sin that was done by mistake is a very uncommon case for that to happen. Now, again, as we're talking about here specifically a minor who's not fit to have a child, so the whole issue would only be as a gzeira of a gedayla. But you're right, if it was a gedayla that this story happened with, which would be logical to be prohibited, because maybe she actually did become impregnated before they found out it was the wrong husband. So you really have a chashash of mamzeris, because maybe she's a married woman and having a relationship with the wrong man. So then, of course, they would have to separate. But here we're going to the minor, so it's not common, and it's only gzeir darbanan. Anything that's not so common, like gazabay in general, the rabbanon would not geiz and double the milsa the shchichet, something that's not common, and therefore she wouldn't have to wait 90 days in this case. Allah chavdal. If let's say a girl does get engaged within the 90 days, so if the man engages her within the 90 days, so they excommunicate him, they distance him, and they don't sit in his dal alamas. Now, let's say he got engaged, but he fled. So then actually they don't put him in excommunication. It's like a type of a gullus that atones for him. Now, let's say he actually took her into his house. He got married to her within the 90 days. Then we separate them. Now, he doesn't have to divorce her, so that even if he's a kohen, he could take her back, which the Rabbit actually says, that whether he gets engaged or whether he gets married, we actually put him in excommunication until he actually divorced her with a get. The Rambam says we just separate them, until after the time, and then then he can stay with his wife. Now, Allah the Rambam continues regarding the prohibition to marry a woman, now, in this regard of if she's pregnant or nursing. So besides the 90 days, to be able to know paternity, says the Rambam, so the sages made the following decree. A person should not marry if his friend died or divorced his wife who is pregnant, should not marry his friend's pregnant wife. Or let's say she divorced and she's still nursing the baby, shouldn't marry a menekes either. Now, although we know which seed this child, let's say the woman is in her 6th month, so we know it's not a confusion about paternity, we know who she's pregnant to, but still, Shema, there's a concern that maybe Yazik Avlad B'Shas Tashman, maybe the embryo is going to get harmed during the intimacy, and the husband's not going to be, careful, because he's not concerned about his friend's son, because that's not his child that his new wife is pregnant with. And Manika, regarding the nursing woman, we're concerned that maybe the milk is going to become sour because she might become pregnant with the new husband. That's going to make the milk stop coming out after the first trimester. And he's not going to be concerned about fixing the milk with things that will help the milk after it sours, because it's not his child. So to prevent that, we don't let the woman get remarried when she's pregnant or when she's still nursing. Halacha vav. Now, how long is the nursing period for that you can't marry a woman? Is within 24 months from the baby's birth. And that's chutz miyam shenod, but that's besides the day of the birth itself, umiyam shenesarsa, and from the day that she gets engaged to her new husband. Halacha of Zayin, Kishem Sha'as Lisa, just like it's forbidden to get married, so too it's forbidden to even get engaged to these women until after this time period, again, after the pregnancy and after the nursing. And even if she gives her son to a wet nurse, so she stopped nursing already within the 24 months. No, so the Rambam did not say she's not allowed to get married because maybe she's weaning the child because she wants to get married. And we're concerned for the safety of the child. Now, but if her child passed away, then she's permitted to get married, even though it's within the 24 months. Because we're not concerned that she's going to kill him so that she can marry this new husband. Therefore, we're not suspecting, and therefore, if he dies, she's allowed to get remarried. Let's say let's say he violated this rabbinic law, and he got married to the pregnant woman, or to the nursing woman within this time period. So he has to divorce her with a get. And even if he was a kain, he's not allowed to ever remarry her ever again because she's going to be divorced, even so he has to divorce her. Now, this is specifically if he marries her. Now, if he only engages her within these 90 days, so then actually he does not have to divorce her. Rather, he could just separate from her without a get, because here, the stringency because of danger to the child, and which that's a problem regarding marriage, and also that it's a very long time period, so it would be difficult for them to protect. Previously, when there was a small amount of time, which we said 3 months, and they protect themselves, so therefore that's why there's a difference between this halacha and what we said previously. So here it's specifically regarding if he marries her, then he has to divorce her with a get, which, like we said, in contrast to when he engages her. Now, if he was a non-kohen, so if he's not a kohen, no problem marrying Grusha, so then he can take her back after 24 months when the nursing is over. Now, let's say Nasa Uvach, let's say he marries her and he flees. And later he comes back and he settles with his wife. So again, here, there's no problem because she permitted him, because like we said in the previous halacha of Dal, the being a fugitive saves him, and he could remain married with her. Now, Eris Muberes Aminika, if he gets just engaged, before that's what we said, we were talking about getting married. If he gets engaged to the pregnant woman or the nursing woman, in Kervanas Laitzi, again, there we don't force him to divorce her, because the Yaitzi was only said if he married her, but he can't marry her yet, until after the time period of the nursing, or until the child passes away.